Should Banksy's latest artwork be removed? The street artist has unveiled a new artwork depicting a judge attacking a protester with a gavel. It was covered up almost immediately after it was found spray-painted on the side of the Royal Courts of Justice. Now, on the way into work, I cycled into that area because I thought, well, at least I can get a view of the sort of casing around it. Have a look at what happened. So this is the back of the Royal Courts of Justice. And somewhere here is the painting. Oh, hey, what about that? I was sure it was going to be covered. I can't believe that. So they sent me down here to film it. I can't believe, I'm just going to go up really close here because I haven't been this close to a Banksy in my life before. There's no other location because I read it was covered. Yeah. He very kindly takes my photo. So I just had a conversation with a gentleman there who's from Singapore. He didn't want to be on camera. And I said, oh, they're going to take it down. Because maybe they've taken the cladding off with a view to taking it down. And he said, yep, I hope so, he said. So there are people who do not want this on the wall for very much longer. But there it jolly well is. Yeah, what about that? I was really surprised.
Amazing.
I know, amazing.
So
I've not had that experience before. Obviously, it's a really hot news story now. It was boxed off, and I think they've taken the boxing down in order to remove it. It may even be
Unless
gone.
Banksy returned in the middle of the night and took it down himself.
I don't think he does that kind of thing.
No, I don't think so.
I'm not sure he ever wears gloves. I mean, it's kind of amazing. I'm guessing you think it has to go, though, do you?
Yeah, but then I think all Banksy should go. I think all graffiti is graffiti, and I object to it in all circumstances. In this one more so because it's making a tedious, half-thought-out left-wing talking point from a man who as far as I'm aware, never once voiced concern about free speech in Britain until it started backfiring on his lot. I mean, you know, for all we know, the protester, you know, being smashed with that gavel, you know, I presume he wasn't referring to people who've been arrested for silently praying outside abortion clinics. I think we know specifically which free speech he's talking about. For what it's worth, it's also an inaccurate painting, as British judges don't have gavels.
OK. Well,
wow,
there we are.
That's a bit of a...
You're throwing the kitchen sink at it.
Absolutely. First of all, there is a difference between graffiti and art. And I would defend Banksy as art. And
well, I think hang on, I'm going to defend graffiti here. I cycle to my mum's every couple of weeks. I go down a 15-mile route. There's a mile stretch of it, which is really rubbish park with horrible grey concrete fencing. And local kids have put graffiti all the way down it, and it's brilliant. And I think they've done it with permission, actually, as well, by the way. But what, you know, it's graffiti's life, Christian.
But art. If you want art to make a social comment or make a political statement, then that is something completely different from graffiti. And I'm all for colour everywhere. I'm not, you know, fine.
But you see it as graffiti.
Well, I see it. I just had a memory whilst we were talking about this that we had in primary school, I must have been about 6 or 7, and we actually had an assembly on graffiti, and there was a vote at the end. Say, is all graffiti, you know, bad, or is some of it art? And I must have been one of a couple of people who said, no, all of it's graffiti.
OK.
I just think unless you've got permission, that's different.
Yeah.
But otherwise, you know, what's the difference between one of those awful tags and...
But look, the key thing about this is that we have a situation where Palestine action was made illegal. They did allegedly some bad things. There's a court case going on, but it's to do with wrecking a plane at Bryce Norton, etc. They then say no one can support them, and if you hold up a banner saying I support them, it's a terrorist act.
Yeah.
We then have a situation where a lot of people get into the centre of London and outside Westminster, and then they write I support Palestine action on their banners. And the police could say, we can't handle 1,500 arrests. But by golly, they try to arrest They arrest more than half.
890.
It's
arrest.
amazing.
It's more than half. It's absolutely extraordinary what the
It's
Met
amazing.
did. Here's the problem. Because Palestine Action has been proscribed as a terrorist group.
Yes, it has.
And you can understand why. I mean, you can understand why Yvette Cooper did it. But on the other hand, you can also understand ordinary people who just watch on television and see what's happening to the Palestinian people in Gaza and the actual crimes against humanity that are being perpetrated there, and the fact that Trump does nothing. He's the man who has the power to stop that. Trump does nothing. Netanyahu continues this kind of murderous raid, partially, everybody knows, because if the war ended, he would be up for fraud. He's keeping himself in power and out of jail. And at the same time, people are dying. Children are dying. Women are dying. And over 40,000 people have been killed. Gaza is being demolished.
But
it's being made as a building site.
Does that mean you should leave that painting on because in the end the protesters are in the right?
No, it's nothing to do with right or wrong. We in this country have a noble tradition of democracy and free speech, and that is, Banksy is entitled to his free speech. Otherwise, we become like China, who, outlawed Ai Weiwei, they're one of their greatest artists.
Yes.
And something like that, and it's not a naive piece of art, as Christian says. It is making a point.
Right. I'll just mention the court officials have said it's got to be removed because it's painted on a listed building.
It's a Grade 1 listed building. And by the way, Banksy might actually be
he could be in trouble
as a result of the...
well,
I wonder whether the police might have a go. So they say that this is taking it away from its original character. The Metropolitan Police have said it is investigating the artwork as potential criminal damage. The most senior judge in England and Wales has shared concerns for the safety of judges who she said have been subjected to increasingly unacceptable and inaccurate abuse. And this would probably fall into that category because in the end, the judges just are there to dispense the law. So
they are. It's not their fault.
Yeah, no one's hitting anyone with a hammer. Neil in London, would you take that down or would you say, no, it's brilliant?
I would absolutely leave it up. It's a beacon of hope. Where are all the Guernicas, for instance? Art world seems to have fallen asleep. It's a disgrace. If they do take it down, they should sell it and give the money to anti-genocide charities.
But it's just that when you put it on the side of a listed building and it's saying that judges are almost hammering protesters, isn't that wrong and dangerous?
Well, not necessarily, because it is a misuse of the law, isn't it? Those terrorists, that terrorist legislation was brought in to address terrorists, not campaigners. By the way, I think all they need to do, those Palestine Action supporters, and they just have to have T-shirts and signs, and the action needs to say "Act I am" instead of "Action." Act I am.
Yeah, that might work. I don't know. Yeah, it might work. But then it all distracts from the main cause, doesn't it? That's the thing. In the end, Palestine Action went into Bryce Norton and threw tools into the engine of a jet aircraft, and they did allegedly £7 million worth of damage. So then the government gets excited about stopping them. Thank you, Neil. Go on.
It's outrageous, though, isn't it? For instance, would you say with the Good Friday Agreement, would it have been reached earlier if the British would have carpet bombed the Falls Road, for instance? No one would agree with that. It's obviously outrageous. The world, it is absolutely, it's disgusting that the world isn't acting. Banksy is doing his little bit. He should be celebrated and everybody else should be ashamed of themselves.
OK, Maria in Portsmouth, you disagree?
I do disagree. That is a court of law and it's a court of law building. And if Banksy wants to go and put something like that, he's got lots of contacts in museums and places like that. Go and do it there.
He's never going to do that. He's never going to do graffiti in a museum, Maria. Come on. Well, he's not that guy.
The thing is, you'll want to have this discussion. Let's do it properly. That is the court of law building.
Yes.
That is where judges and other people that work there will be scared.
That's why he's chosen it.
Exactly, but he's then putting them in danger. Let's just talk about this sensibly, please. There are people that work in that building on low wages, do fantastic jobs to make sure that we are all safe. Judges do fantastic jobs to make sure we are safe. This country is not a safe country.
I think we're allowed to comment on it. Maria, you are allowed to comment.
I'm not saying you're not allowed
Well, you
to
could say
comment on it.
you could say we got some rubbish judges, for example.
I'm a lady that lives in a housing association home. I'm not highly educated.
Right.
But what I'm saying is it's very simple. When you are seeing things like that on a building of court of law, what is that showing anybody else what our country is turning into?
Okay, I hear you.
Maria,
Yeah.
I was going to say we're allowed to protest. We're a country of free speech, and it's not saying let's attack judges. It's using a picture of a judge as an analogy to the law. It's saying the law. It's not saying judges are bad. It's saying the law is being used like a hammer to crack a nut.
There is blood on. I mean, it's a bloody image. It's a violent image. It is. It's got a judge with a hammer and a bloodied, spattered placard.
It's not saying individual judges. It's saying the law.
Yeah. All right.
But I think if it was, if it's saying the law, then it should have been done on Parliament. Not on the home of the judiciary.
But
I think it's ascribing blame to the wrong group. If that's your objection,
but you can't get to.
Well, there are buildings.
But the point being that he's done it there so that people will talk about it, and the discussion will hopefully, at some point, bring the world to its senses.
I think if we go back to the core of the argument, which is, if you want to support Palestine, you can absolutely support Palestine. You can go and protest every weekend and support Palestine, but deliberately going out of your way to support Palestine Action, which have quite rightly been prescribed as a terrorist group, you are provoking the police, saying, "Come on, arrest me,"
but hang on.
and they did their job.
Yeah, but the police don't have to arrest everyone who's breaking the law. If you
I wish they did.
Yeah, I know you do, but except that what happens if someone spits on the sidewalk during the show? You've got to send a squad car for them?
No, I mean...
Exactly. So they make choices. They show discretion.
I wish they would. Yeah. But obviously, they don't have the resources to
You want to live in
that.
North Korea, basically?
No,
because you won't get graffiti in North Korea.
I want the police to enforce every law. Whether those laws are right or wrong, we can have that debate.
We could have had a debate about free speech then, because when the Met Police have got into trouble for
the Linehan arrest.
Well, exactly, the Linehan arrest.
Well,
so that because it's the law, let's change the law then.
I agree. But I think in that case, the police were right to follow the law, and we should blame politicians for making those terrible laws. Whether operationally they needed to send 5 armed guards to Heathrow, I don't think they did.
Right,
and that was their
guards
choice.
at Heathrow are armed anyway.
They're armed, yeah. Okay, gosh, wow, that got lively.